The impossible challenger. The crimson Colosseum rose from the red sands of Zephyros, like a monument to violence and glory. Its towering walls of black stone reached toward the purple sky, while thousands of alien spectators filled every level of the massive arena. The roar of the crowd echoed across the desert planet, as creatures from across the galaxy gathered to witness combat between the most dangerous beings in known space. In the depths of the Colosseum, Marcus Chen pressed his back against the cold stone wall of his cell. The human engineer had been captured 3 months ago when his deep space research vessel was attacked by pirates. Now he found himself trapped in the most feared arena in the galaxy, where survival meant fighting creatures that could tear apart starships with their bare claws. The guards who brought his meager meal were a pair of Krillian soldiers, their insect-like mandibles clicking with amusement. "Tomorrow you die, soft skin," one hissed through its translator. "The crowd will barely notice when Thoric crushes your fragile bones." Marcus said nothing, but his mind raced. He had studied the arena's previous fights through the cell's viewing screen, analyzing every battle with a methodical precision that had made him one of humanity's best engineers. While other prisoners spent their time in fear or rage, Marcus had been learning. The morning sun cast long shadows across the arena floor as Marcus emerged from the tunnel. The crowd's noise hit him like a physical force, a wall of sound that made his ears ring. Thousands of alien faces stared down at him from the stands, their expressions ranging from cruel amusement to outright disgust. "Behold," the announcer's voice boomed across the Colosseum. "A human. These weak creatures think they can compete in our sacred arena." The crowd erupted in laughter and jeers. Some aliens threw small objects onto the sand, showing their contempt for what they saw as easy prey. From the opposite tunnel emerged Thoric the Bone Crusher, and the crowd's mockery turned to excited roars. The massive reptilian warrior stood nearly 10 feet tall, his scaled hide scarred from countless battles. Each of his 4 arms ended in claws that gleamed like polished metal, and his jaw was filled with teeth capable of crushing steel. Thoric had killed over 200 opponents in this arena, and his reputation stretched across star systems. The beast looked at Marcus and snorted with disdain. "Human," it rumbled in galactic common. "I will make your death quick if you kneel now." Marcus studied his opponent carefully. Thoric was incredibly strong and well-armored, but the human noticed something others might miss. The creature favored its left side slightly, protecting old injuries. Its massive size meant incredible power, but also slower movement and higher energy consumption. "I appreciate the offer," Marcus replied calmly, "but I think I'll pass." The signal horn blared, and Thoric charged with terrifying speed. The ground shook under his massive feet as he closed the distance in seconds. His claws swept through the air where Marcus had been standing, but the human had already moved. While Thoric was built for devastating frontal attacks, Marcus used his smaller size to stay mobile, constantly changing position. The crowd watched in growing confusion as the human avoided death blow after death blow. Thoric's massive claws gouged deep trenches in the arena floor, but Marcus seemed to dance around them. The reptilian warrior's breathing grew heavier as he expended enormous energy on attacks that hit nothing but sand and stone. Marcus had been studying the arena's layout during his observation of previous fights. He noticed that beneath the sand were old drainage channels from when the Colosseum had been a water stadium centuries ago. As Thoric charged again, Marcus ran toward what looked like solid ground, but was actually a weak point in the floor. At the last second, Marcus rolled aside. Thoric's massive weight crashed through the weakened section, his left leg dropping into the hidden channel. The beast roared in pain and rage as his old injury was aggravated by the sudden strain. Now Marcus pressed his advantage. He had noticed that Thoric's armor plates had gaps at the joints, especially around the shoulders where his multiple arms connected to his torso. Using a piece of broken stone, Marcus climbed onto the trapped creature's back and struck precisely at the vulnerable nerve cluster he had identified. Thoric's roar cut off abruptly as the nerve strike paralyzed his left arms. The massive warrior struggled to stand, but his trapped leg and paralyzed limbs left him helpless. Marcus stood on the creature's shoulder, breathing hard but victorious. The arena fell silent, not the hushed quiet of anticipation, but the stunned silence of beings who could not process what they had just witnessed. A human, one of those weak creatures from the galaxy's edge, had defeated Thorek the Bone Crusher without weapons, without armor, using nothing but intelligence and adaptability. In the stands, Zara watched with fascination. The Veltar scientist had attended hundreds of arena matches, but she had never seen anything like this. Her species prized intelligence above brute force, and she recognized something in the human's victory that others might miss. This was not luck or trickery. This was evolution in action, adaptation, and problem-solving at its finest. The announcer's voice shook as he declared Marcus the winner. The crowd's reaction was mixed, some cheering for the unexpected spectacle, while others muttered uneasily about the implications. A human had entered their sacred arena and defeated one of their champions through means they had never considered. Thorek, though defeated, was not dead. Marcus had chosen to spare his opponent's life, another action that confused the alien spectators. In their culture, mercy was often seen as weakness, but something about the human's calm confidence suggested otherwise. As Marcus walked from the arena floor, whispers followed him. Word of his victory would spread across the galaxy within hours, carried by the thousands of spectators and broadcast to billions more. The galactic news networks would struggle to explain how a human had accomplished what seemed impossible. In the depths of the Colosseum, Marcus was returned to his cell, but everything had changed. The guards no longer mocked him, and other prisoners watched him with new respect. The human had proven that survival was not just about strength or speed or natural weapons. Sometimes, the most dangerous weapon was the ability to think, to adapt, and to find solutions where others saw only problems. That night, as Marcus planned for whatever challenges lay ahead, he thought about his home world and the billions of humans who had no idea that their species' reputation was being forged in an alien arena. He had not chosen this fate, but he would make the most of it. If the galaxy wanted to test humanity's worth, he would show them what humans were truly capable of. The victory against Thorek was just the beginning. In the stands, powerful beings were taking notice. The Galactic Council's representatives whispered among themselves about this human anomaly. Military leaders wondered if they had underestimated humanity's potential. And somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of interstellar politics, decisions were being made that would affect the future of human-alien relations. Marcus Chen, engineer turned gladiator, had no idea that his fight for survival was becoming something much larger. He had entered the arena as a prisoner facing certain death. But as news of his victory spread across the stars, he was becoming something else entirely. Proof that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The legend begins. News of the human's victory spread across the galaxy faster than quantum communications could carry it. On trading stations, in military barracks, and in the halls of government, beings who had never given humanity a second thought suddenly found themselves discussing the species that had seemed so unremarkable. On the water world of Aquinas, Veltar scientists gathered in their research centers to debate what they had witnessed. The human displayed unprecedented tactical thinking, reported Zara to her colleagues via holographic conference. Its victory was not accidental. It demonstrated pattern recognition, environmental awareness, and adaptive problem-solving that exceeded our projections for its species. Meanwhile, on the industrial planet of Pharos, Krillian military commanders watched recordings of the fight with growing concern. General Vexhai, the most respected strategist in their armies, studied every moment of Marcus's battle with Thorek. "This human used our own assumptions against us," he told his officers. "We expected brute force and found precision. We expected fear and found calculation. If one human can do this, what might their entire species accomplish?" Back on Zephyros, the Crimson Colosseum buzzed with activity as the next matches were arranged. The arena's masters knew they had stumbled upon something valuable. Ticket sales had increased dramatically as beings from across the galaxy wanted to see if the humans' victory was a fluke or something more significant. Marcus spent his days training and studying. The arena's library, originally intended for the entertainment of wealthy spectators, became his classroom. He learned about the physiology of different alien species, the history of the Colosseum's champions, and the political structure of the galaxy that had brought him here. His next opponent was announced with great fanfare: Vexhai the Shadow Stalker, an insectoid assassin from the Krillian Empire. Unlike Thoric's straightforward approach, Vexhai was known for cunning and stealth. The creature could blend with shadows, move with perfect silence, and strike with poisonous claws that could paralyze prey in seconds. The crowd that gathered for this second fight was larger than any in the arena's history. Representatives from major galactic powers occupied the premium seating areas, while common citizens filled every available space. The betting pools offered odds heavily favoring the Krillian assassin, but some brave souls placed their credits on the human who had already defied expectations once. As Marcus entered the arena, the atmosphere was different from his first fight. The jeers were quieter, replaced by an undercurrent of genuine curiosity. These spectators had come not to watch an execution, but to see if the impossible could happen twice. Vexhai emerged from his tunnel like a living shadow, his chitinous exoskeleton seeming to absorb light. The insectoid warrior was half Thoric's size, but moved with fluid grace that spoke of deadly efficiency. His compound eyes tracked Marcus's every movement, while his antennae twitched, analyzing chemical signatures in the air. Your victory over Thorak was impressive. Vexhai spoke in perfectly modulated galactic common, his voice carrying a subtle hiss. But brute force is easy to overcome. Intelligence, however, requires a different approach. Marcus nodded respectfully. I look forward to learning from you. The signal horn sounded, and Vexhai vanished. Not literally, but he seemed to meld with the shadows cast by the arena's pillars and barriers. The crowd leaned forward, many using enhanced vision to try to track the assassin's movement. Marcus stood still in the center of the arena, eyes closed, head tilted slightly as if listening. The crowd grew restless, expecting to see the human frantically searching for his hidden opponent. Instead, Marcus appeared almost meditative, his breathing slow and controlled. Vexhai struck from behind, his poisonous claws aiming for the base of Marcus's neck. But the human was already moving, pivoting away from the attack with precise timing. The assassin's claws scraped against the stone floor where Marcus had been standing moments before. Impressive reflexes, Vexhai acknowledged, fading back into the shadows. But can you maintain such awareness indefinitely? What followed was a deadly game of cat and mouse. Vexhai would attack from unexpected angles, using his natural camouflage and the arena's terrain to launch surprise strikes. Each time, Marcus managed to avoid the killing blow, but the crowd could see that the human was being pressed to his limits. Then something unexpected happened. As Vexhai prepared another stealth attack, Marcus began to modify the arena itself. Using his engineering knowledge, he started manipulating the ancient mechanisms that controlled the Colosseum's floor. Suddenly, hidden vents began releasing clouds of fine sand into the air. The swirling particles made Vexhai's camouflage useless. His outline became visible as the sand settled on his exoskeleton, and his movements stirred the dust clouds in telltale patterns. The assassin found himself exposed in an environment that no longer favored stealth. Clever, Vexhai admitted, his respect for the human growing. You have turned my greatest advantage into a liability. But Marcus wasn't finished. He had noticed that the arena's lighting system was controlled by the same ancient mechanisms as the floor vents. With careful manipulation, he began altering the light patterns, creating a strobing effect that disrupted Vexhai's compound eyes and made it difficult for the insectoid to judge distances accurately. The crowd watched in amazement as the human transformed the battlefield itself into a weapon. This was not just combat. It was engineering and environmental manipulation at the highest level. Vexhai, disoriented by the changing conditions, made a desperate charge. Marcus was ready. Using a piece of reflective metal from the arena's decorations, he directed one of the strobing lights directly into the assassin's eyes. Temporarily blinded, Vexai stumbled, and Marcus struck with precise pressure points that paralyzed the insectoid's limbs without causing permanent damage. The arena erupted in chaos. The crowd's roar was deafening as they witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about combat, intelligence, and the nature of strength itself. Marcus stood over his defeated opponent, both of them breathing heavily but alive. In the VIP section, the Galactic Council's representatives exchanged worried glances. Admiral Korath of the Centaurian fleet leaned toward his aide. "Contact our Xenobiology department," he whispered urgently. "I want a complete reassessment of human capabilities immediately. If this individual is representative of his species, we may have seriously underestimated Earth's potential." As Marcus helped Vexai to his feet, the defeated assassin spoke quietly. "You fight with honor," he said. "Your species may be small and fragile, but your minds are weapons we never anticipated. I am honored to have faced you." The crowd's cheer took on a different quality as Marcus raised his hand in acknowledgement. These were no longer the mocking jeers of spectators watching a weak creature struggle against its betters. This was the roar of recognition, of respect earned through impossible victories. When Marcus spoke, his voice carried clearly across the arena despite its normal volume. "I didn't come here by choice," he said, "but I learned something important. Strength isn't just about size or speed or natural weapons. It's about refusing to give up, about finding solutions when others see only problems. That's what humans do. That's what we've always done." The words were simple, but they resonated across the galaxy. Within hours, recordings of Marcus's speech were being analyzed by intelligence agencies, discussed in diplomatic circles, and shared on communication networks throughout known space. That night, as Marcus returned to his cell, he found it had been upgraded. Better food, comfortable bedding, and access to advanced training equipment awaited him. More importantly, a message waited from the arena's masters. He would have a choice in his next opponent. But Marcus's thoughts were not on future fights. He was thinking about home, about the space station where his research team might still be trying to decode the alien technology they had discovered. He wondered if his family had been told he was dead, or if they still hoped for his return. What Marcus didn't know was that his victories were already changing the course of human history. Deep space exploration fleets were being redirected to avoid hostile territories. Diplomatic protocols were being rewritten to acknowledge humanity's tactical capabilities. And on Earth itself, recruitment for the Space Corps had increased dramatically as young humans dreamed of following in the footsteps of the man who had made monsters lower their eyes. The legend of Marcus Chen was just beginning, but already it was reshaping how an entire galaxy viewed the small blue planet at the edge of the Milky Way. Humanity had found its champion, and the universe would never be the same.